lads, look what I got. When you press the button, it goes. And I think that's about it. Hello,
time travellers.
Hello, darling.
Hi.
How you doing?
Oh, hello. I'm very, very well, thank you. And I'm very excited by this episode indeed. Tell them what it's going to be about. Tell them. It's good, this one.
This is a bit different, isn't it? Because we have had requests. We like requests. You get to write down what you want us to talk about. Today, we've been asked to list some of our favourite, ready for it, spiky weapons.
In the study of arms and armour, there's a very strict typology, which is spiky, thuddy, slicey, shooty, bangy. And they're the proper scientific terms we use for studying weaponry. And we're going to concentrate on spiky this time. Things that you can stab people, animals, whatever, if you're in that way inclined.
This one here is end of the 19th century. Have you ever heard of the Gras rifle? Used in France.
Is that? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I always say Gratz, but yeah.
Yeah, it's pronounced Gras.
Yeah.
It's quite a fun gun, but in my opinion, came with the biggest spiky end you can get. Look
at that with hooked quillion. Show him the hooked quillion, Mark. Look at that.
Look. So, if you want to make a bangy gun nastier, put a dirty great spike on the end of it. That's
well, I wasn't going to talk about this, but I've got here. It just happens to be here because I was playing with it this morning. I've got 1871, so year of the siege of Paris. Look at that. Oh, it's a Remington. That kind of bayonet they're used in the Franco-Prussian War to some extent by the French, and that kind of bayonet wouldn't fit this, but they had big spiky bayonets, but not with a hook quillion.
So you like that? You like that? That's one of my biggest spikes in history I could find.
One of my favourite. It's a bit of wood about that long. Oh, yeah. And it's in the Natural History Museum in London, and it's in the Natural History Museum, not the British Museum, because it's 400,000 years old. It's the Clacton Spearhead. Ooh. It's a bit of yew wood, and it's the tip of a spear, and it's the earliest worked wooden object in the world. It's holidays with hominids again, as I always enjoy. I would like to go back and see them hunting. Because there's been an idea in the past, these aren't modern humans, this is Homo heidelbergensis probably, it's before Neanderthals. And they're using these spears and hunting with them and making them. And it was considered, not that long ago by archaeologists, that perhaps these early hominids, Homo heidelbergensis, were quite primitive, would sort of, just sort of find things, not do big kill site type stuff. But there's another site from Germany which I'm going to read because it's got an umlaut, and I don't know how to pronounce umlauts. Schöningen, I think, or Schöningen. There's some similar spears there which are 300,000 years old, so there's 100,000 years between these two times. And they were complete, and they're weighted. They're like modern javelins almost. They're for throwing. They're really, really effective weapons. So to see humans using these things at what seems like a really early date would be interesting. But I'd stay out the way, and I would not like to look like a prey item. I wouldn't go in disguised as a sort of straight-tusked elephant or anything. That's obvious advice, but you never know.
One of my favourite little spiky weapons hides away. Do you remember, I'll have to do that, the Caltrop? A nasty little fella. 4 spikes, one in every direction. You have a pocket full of these, and just before a medieval battle, you throw them around. And people on horses and people with soft shoes go, ow, 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 ow. They are horrible.
Yeah, to land in a load of those would be pretty awful, wouldn't it? And they're one of those things that appears throughout history. You get them. They are used in civil insurrection to this day and age, which of course we can't condone unless you go back in time and get some historically properly forged ones and keep a blacksmith in a living. But they're one of those things, that kind of spiky thing. I mean, it reminds me, you get in front of Iron Age forts on the west coast of Ireland, you get stones put around that are spiky. So you can't, I mean, that's a form of spiky weapon. You're there in very thin shoes and your pampoonies or bare feet, and you get your feet spiked. There's loads of ways of getting spiked in history. Real spike, you go rapiers, 16th century rapiers, where they get to ridiculous length. The City of London starts having people with bolt croppers chopping the ends off them because young men are carrying these things around. Absolutely deadly, horrible weapon. But you can see those in museums quite easily, and you can sort of, you can study how they're used. For me, it's some of the spiky stuff that I've worked on the word spiky. For our viewer, and I've been interested for time. The Gilbert Islands, the Pacific. I know very little about it, but you get weapons made of shark's teeth set into wood, and they're fantastic. And on the Gilbert Islands, they have these sort of tridents with shark's teeth all over, and the Hawaiians have them. And I've got to pronounce another word now. Let me read it first. I'm going to pronounce this one wrong. Leomano. That doesn't sound very Hawaiian, does it? Leomano. I don't know. Anyway, the Hawaiian version is a sort of wooden thing shaped like a little bat with a hole in the middle with shark's teeth all the way around. Wow. And you look at the armour from the Pacific, they've got coconut fibre armour, helmets made of pufferfish and porcupine fish, and the Victorians put it in museums and thought it was sort of comical. But these people were very good at fighting indeed, and they've developed systems of martial arts to use these things, and they're probably incredibly effective weapons. Put it this way, I wouldn't be any happier being attacked with a sharp-toothed club thing than I would with somebody with a sword. I'd probably be just as scared and run just as far, screaming and howling. But I'd like to see them. I'd like to see them, not in use on each other, but see the martial arts that go with them.
You mentioned 16th century rapiers, fencing, and I suddenly thought, well, the rapier, huge, great spiky thing, but what about the parrying dagger? The left-handed thing.
Oh, that's spiky.
Well, this one is because it comes with a little treat. So I wave this in front of you, sword in other hand, going, come on, Ed.
Well, now I'll get my Bronze Age dagger to...
And as you walk forward, I press a button on it.
Oh!
Many spikes!
That's
many spikes!
That's confusing. I've only got one spike.
I've got
Wait a minute.
3 now.
It's not a spike, it's a shot. I'll use my Bronze Age axe as well. Late Bronze Age axe, I'm afraid, and early Bronze Age dagger. Mid Bronze Age. You win, I think, with that, because I'd just be so confused. I think I'd run away. What's it supposed to do?
Well, it's always said that you rush up to you like this and you press the button, and I can use this to catch your sword. Very unlikely. I think it was just a show-off piece of kit. This is a young boy racer dagger. This is something that I'd take down and go, lads, look what I got. When you press the button, it goes... And I think that's about it.
I think if you've got something like that and you go against big, roughy-tufty, I've been studying swordplay all my life and I know what I'm doing, and you go, click.
He just bends
that's going to be a bad moment. You're going to have a millisecond of realisation that investing in your funny dagger hasn't got you very far.
Quite an array of spikiness there.
If you do appear in time, and this is a word of advice from somebody that's done this, if you go up to somebody that's got big spiky sharp thing and you just want to touch it to see how sharp it is. I did this on a sword once. Japanese sword. Everyone loves Japanese swords, but this was horribly true. Like an idiot. I just very lightly, almost didn't touch my finger on the blade of a 13th century Japanese sword, and I couldn't feel it, and it just went blood everywhere. So don't ask to touch the spiky thing. It's rude, and it's not a good idea.
Now that's what I call time travel. Anyway, if you've liked what Ed and I say, don't forget to like us, share and subscribe.